Hey everyone, welcome to the Team Wiz podcast. My name is Marty, and I'm here with my man Kyle. Kyle, how you doing tonight?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good, good. I'm also here with Pat. And Pat, how you doing tonight?
I'm great, guys. How are y'all?
Doing good. Excited for this week. What we're going to do today is we're going to go over Week 7 of the NFL DFS slate. We're going to go over our picks, and we're going to break it down each game individually and tell you who we think is the top plays of the week and what we think will help you win your cash games. We'll throw out GPPs plays as we see them, but right now we're really going to be focusing on the cash games. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and get started. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, if we go through something and you wanted us to touch on maybe a certain player or a certain situation, you can always tweet at Kyle or Pat. You can reach Kyle on Twitter at DFS_WizKyle, and you can reach Pat at DFS_WizP. So feel free to send them a tweet. If you're tuning in live to our Google broadcast, you can also reach us on the Q&A section. In the upper right-hand corner, there's going to be a little box that looks like a Rubik's Cube. Feel free to throw in the questions there, and then we'll go ahead and answer them as the show goes on. Let's go ahead and tackle the slate. The first game we have is Seattle versus the amazing San Francisco 49ers. What do you guys think?
They are amazing.
Amazing that they beat the Ravens, right?
They won a game.
They won a game.
I'm not really liking anybody here. I could see maybe Russell Wilson and then Jimmy Graham after last week, but that offensive line is just having so many problems.
Yeah, I agree. It's looking tough for those guys. Tough sledding, getting going on the ground. They gave Marshawn Lynch some extra work last week. I would like to see him give him some more and try to get that offensive line going and work out the kinks. So they're favored by 6.5. I know they are on the road, but we've seen the 49ers not been able to stop the run so far this year or the pass. So you could ride Marshawn Lynch, but I'm not particularly liking anyone from this game. Not really at all.
Yeah. I think it's pretty much a GPP play here. I do like Russell Wilson a little bit. 49ers have been known to give up quite a bit through the air, so I can see him passing for quite a bit. Just who is he going to throw to? I'm not that quite sure. But I do like Wilson for a GPP play here.
Is Vernon Davis back?
He's back, but is he going to be used? I have no idea. I mean, even when he's on the field, he's not.
Brandon Stonehands Davis.
Yeah, I know. We're just seeing. Cal's pointed out week in and week out that Seahawks are just so strong on the corners that people have been beating them down the middle. We saw it with Greg Olsen this past week, just straight down the middle. Cam Newton hit him on a game-winning TD pass. And I forget who it was the week before that burned them. Oh, Tyler Eifert. Almost identical pass straight down the middle, right over their secondary. They have quite a few things. Cam Chancellor seemed to be upset in the media this week with Robert Sherman and everyone else that they just haven't been communicating well and doing their normal things. So they have been, proponed to giving up a long touchdown pass down the seam. So if he's cheap, I haven't checked on his price, but he might be worth a super low-owned deep GPP flyer.
Okay. All right. Not too much from that game. Moving right along, we have Buffalo versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is one of the London games. It's going to be at 9:30 in the morning Eastern time on Sunday. So pick wisely if you're going to be picking anybody from this game. What do you guys think? Anything jumps out from either Buffalo or Jacksonville?
I'm not too high on this game either. I do like Charles Clay though, with probably no Sammy Watkins and Percy Harvin. You saw what he did when that happened a couple weeks ago. He got a lot of targets, so you should see plenty of targets this week. We all know Jacksonville can defend the pass, and then I like LaShawn McCoy. If we get word that he's gonna get 100% of the snaps, well, not 100% obviously, but the running back one workload.
Right.
I actually like McCoy a lot on DraftKings. I think he's 7.7K on FanDuel. He could probably pay that price tag off easily on FanDuel, but he's only 5.5K on DraftKings. And Jacksonville is allowing 7.7 receptions per game out of the backfield. I saw last week. I know it was E.J. Manuel, not Tyrod Taylor. We're expecting Tyrod Taylor to play back this week, but E.J. Manuel checked down him quite a bit last week, and he looked good. I watched a little bit of highlights and game film on him because I do own him in season long.
He's looked good all year, even in preseason.
Yeah, when he gets playing time. So yeah, like Kyle said, if we get word that he's going to play, I might play that slate just so I can get a 5.5K running back on DraftKings that's going to get the majority of the workload against a defense that's only given up 90 rushing yards per game, but 27 fantasy points to the backfield and at least 1.5 rushing touchdowns per game. So for 5.5K, I don't think you could do much better on DraftKings. So I'm probably going to play that slate just so I can get a different roster construction going on than a lot of other people.
Very good points. I agree with your points there. Not much else to add in that game there. Moving on to the rest of the Sunday slate, we have
on the Jacksonville side of the ball though. We have seen Buffalo is a good defense, and with the London games, we've seen them be low scoring. This is only a 42 over under. But if you are a multi GPP player, we've seen quarterbacks light up the Bills just because you're not able to throw on it. And Blake Bortles has just been super high volume, throwing for at least 300 yards a game. He has thrown a few interceptions, but at his price and with the Bills giving up 20 fantasy points a game to quarterbacks, 275 passing yards and two passing touchdowns a game, he could be worth a roster spot for sure if, like I said, you are one of those guys that make multiple GPP lineups.
Yeah, another thing to note there, Bills have actually shut down wide receiver ones. So if you're looking to play a receiver from this game, Allen Hurns is actually a great play because they've been getting torched by wide receiver twos.
He didn't practice today, so watch his status. Allen Robinson was back at practice today. He had a leg contusion, so I don't think his playing was in doubt at all this week. But yeah, Allen Hurns, keep an eye on his health. Whoever is in that slot or the opposite side could definitely be for a great play.
All right, moving right along, we have next game up, Cleveland versus St. Louis. We got St. Louis favored by 5.5 points, and the over/under is 42. What about on Cleveland? Is there anybody on Cleveland that we know?
Absolutely not.
Didn't think so.
I could see Duke, maybe. That's in GPP. That's about it.
I wouldn't even go there. You've seen Isaiah Crowell get touches, and there's another running back for Cleveland. I always get them confused with the Titans because they're another three-headed running back monster. But they let so many guys, take turns out of that backfield. Gary, the monster Barnage, who will score 2 touchdowns a game and also do your taxes in the off season. That dude is an enigma, man. I just don't understand it. I mean, he looks like Jason Witten running out there, old man running around, but somehow, some way, he comes up with 2 touchdowns.
Did you guys see that catch last week?
Yes. Oh my God, this made me so mad, so mad. This guy I was playing in my your season long has him, and he picked him up off the waiver wire, thinking he did something great by picking up Gary Barnage.
And everybody else in DFS playing Gary Barnage.
Yeah, keep riding that wave.
Catch that touchdown with their feet, and people are like, "Oh, I told you so."
Yeah, this is not a good matchup, man. St. Louis has got a stout defensive front. They're going to put pressure on the QB. I can see them not giving him time to throw. I know McCown has looked good, but that offensive line he's got, they haven't been able to establish a running game. And with him not having time to throw, there's just nobody that I would be willing maybe take a flyer on someone.
McCown has been the best quarterback in the league, according to
I just don't think he's been playing anybody that great. He did okay versus Denver, but they also took one back to the house. So they forced 2 turnovers against him. So it's just nothing here. It's only what is this, a 42 over under? Yeah. There's nothing. And St. Louis favored by 5.5 at home. This is where the chalk comes in, fellas.
Yeah.
This week is one of the chalkiest weeks yet to date, I think. Todd Gurley, man. I don't know if you guys have watched any highlights or film on him, but the kid is legit. He's got like almost 30 carries in the last 2 games that he's played.
Yeah, he reached 30 carries by the 3rd quarter last week, I think it was.
Yeah. Who does that in the NFL? There's no other running back getting that volume. He's still priced like a backup running back for some reason. So he'll probably be near 100% owned. I don't know.
He's my favorite lock this week.
Yeah, I don't know why he wouldn't be 100% owned, or at least 80% owned. He's 5K on DraftKings. What is he on FanDuel?
70 something.
He doesn't have a chance in the world in not breaking value, so
yeah,
lock him in, load him. I listened to quite a few podcasts throughout the week, and I heard some pros that would said that they would be taking a flyer on Nick Foles probably. I guess they didn't roster him in week 2 and learn their lesson then. But there's nobody else in the Cleveland side of the ball that I would even consider. I mean, St. Louis, excuse me.
Yeah, I think the only other good play from this game is probably the St. Louis defense. They're on FanDuel, they're priced pretty cheap at 4,500. Brown's offense isn't that great. I could see them getting to the quarterback quite a bit, get some sacks in there, and reaching value pretty easily.
Absolutely. What is it? Is Aaron Donald or Aaron their nose tackle? He's leading the league in sacks so far. So
yeah.
They're favored at home, so you know how we like the correlation play of our running back and the defense.
Yeah, it's a great stack for this week.
Absolutely. Value stack.
Yeah.
Next game.
All right, next game we have Pittsburgh versus Kansas City. Right now, Pittsburgh is favored by 2. I don't know if they come out with the over-under yet. I think they're still waiting for some news on Roethlisberger and a couple other things. So, but for right now, we got Pitt favored by 2. Guys, what do you think about Antonio Brown? Hasn't been performing as well as of late. Is this a time where he could potentially turn it around?
Oh man, can't trust it. Not for cash games, unless Ben Roethlisberger is back, obviously.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell is the only guy for me in this game that I could absolutely trust for cash games. Maybe some Jeremy Maclin. That's about it.
How much?
If Maclin is cleared, obviously.
How much is Martavis Bryant on FanDuel?
He's pretty cheap, but I'm not going there for cash. I like better options.
Man, I think he's 4.6K on DraftKings, and the dude's a freak athlete. I love him for cash, GPPs, all the above on DraftKings. We've seen Kansas City, especially the receiver in the slot. I know they do move Antonio Brown quite a bit, but he mostly plays on the outside. Last week, I saw they used Martavis Bryant out of the slot a lot, and we've seen so many receivers out of the slot tear up Kansas City week in and week out. Landry Jones, Ben Roethlisberger, I'll definitely roster Martavis Bryant. Michael Vick, hell no. But if Big Ben is back, then upgrade Antonio Brown. And he becomes almost a must play in my opinion if Big Ben is back.
Yeah.
What about on the Kansas City side of the ball? Anybody that you like from Kansas City?
I do like Travis Kelce, actually. Pittsburgh has been torched by the better tight ends they've played, one being Gronk.
Yeah. Never heard of that guy.
Who has?
Yeah. He's been quiet the last few weeks, so if you just started watching football last couple weeks, then maybe not. But yeah, I could get behind that play because he's basically their only target, especially if Jeremy Maclin is out. Then he might he could be a target monster and could be a cash game viable if Macklin's out.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't really think there's any other plays in this game, especially for Kansas City. I know the experiment of West and Davis didn't really fare so well last week, and I don't see it continuing this week as well.
Nope.
All right, next game we have the Houston Texans versus the Miami Dolphins. Miami is favored by 4.5, and we have an over/under of 44.5. What do you guys think about this game? Anything from Houston?
From Houston, DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, you got to consider him every week. The guy's just been a freak. Besides that Dolphins defense looked good last week.
Yeah, they did. They were fired up.
Energized.
Yeah. What's their new coach's name? Dan Carpenter?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a tight end for the Cowboys, wasn't he? I believe.
Yeah, he was a tight end. I'm not sure if he played for the Cowboys.
Yeah, he did. He was a tight end for the Cowboys during the Moose and Aikman and Emmitt Smith days. He didn't get out involved in the passing game much. I don't believe he was more of a just like a blocking.
He's probably a blocking tight end.
Yeah, he was one of your old school, just smash mouth tight ends. To get in there. He was the offensive lineman that could potentially catch a ball occasionally, but he seems to have that old school mentality of just ground and pound. And we saw Lamar Miller get involved a lot last week, and when he's been involved, he's been relatively good. He's still cheap. Houston has been gashed by the run.
They're still not terrible. A lot of people are going to jump to Lamar Miller, but everybody saw that coming last week. He had a picture-perfect matchup last week, so I just don't want to go too hard when the matchup is worse than it was last week.
I couldn't agree more. He's definitely a recency bias bust candidate. I could see him having a solid game, but definitely not as good as he had last week, especially when the Texans are more vulnerable through the air.
Yeah, I like Jarvis Landry a little more.
They're allowing 250 receiving yards a game, 20 fantasy points to quarterbacks, about, I believe, 30 fantasy points a game to wide receivers. So, yeah, that's about 15 per wide receiver. Jarvis Landry could be a great play. Also, 2 passing touchdowns per game. So, if the line moves on this game at all, it's at 44.5 right now. If it moves anymore, I could definitely see considering Tannehill here. Maybe not on FanDuel where his price is a little bit up, but on DraftKings he's only 5.7K. Blake Bortles didn't have a problem reaching value, and with them, with the Dolphins involving Miller on the run, that's going to open up some play action pass for Tannehill. I could definitely see him not having a problem reaching value at 5.7K.
Arian Foster a little bit this matchup too. The Dolphins have been giving up the second most rushing yards per game. I am a little worried because they looked really good last game, so they seem to have found something there. So I don't know if it'll continue over to this week, but if it wasn't for that, I would have said that Foster would have been a good play in this scenario.
I agree.
All right, moving on to the next game, we have the New York Jets versus the New England Patriots. Patriots are favored by 9, and we have the high over/under of 48. Should be some good plays in this game, right?
Yeah, I still like Tom Brady and Julian Edelman. I think they're going to be really low owned this week, so I'll definitely have some Patriot stacks and some GPP. This Jets defense is tough, but you saw what the Redskins did to them last week with 2 of their best players out. I think the Patriots make for a great GPP play.
Yeah, we're going to see how good this defense is. A lot of the pros have been talking about, ESPN, NFL Network, talking about this actually being the best defense there is, not really fantasy points wise, but just real life wise. They're only allowing 14 points a game. They do lead the league in takeaways. So this is going to be the ultimate test. This is a 48 over and under. I saw where Stephen Ridley made it back to practice. Could this be little Ridley revenge on Belichick here if he gets some playing time?
I don't think so.
I doubt he gets ahead of Ivory.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I actually like, especially with this being a high over/under and the Pats being able to probably put some points on the board, the Jets are going to have to throw. And man, Ron Fitzpatrick has come out. He's looked efficient. He's made good decisions. He hadn't had to play that great of defenses. The Pats are definitely more stout versus the run than they are versus the pass. They're giving up 35 fantasy points a game to wide receivers, 13 receptions a game, and 185 yards a game with 1.5 receiving touchdowns. That makes Brandon Marshall and Decker a couple of my favorite plays on the weekend.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have to throw.
Fitzpatrick is really low priced. FanDuel is only 7,100, and as you mentioned, the Patriots are giving up the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks. So I really like Fitzpatrick this week. I think they're going to have to be throwing it a lot, and just naturally pair him up with Marshall. I think it's a good combination. Marshall's been looking great this year, and Fitzpatrick's been finding a way to get him the ball. So I think that's a great matchup this week.
Yeah, Marshall, the receivers, I think, with their prices, Marshall and Decker are definitely a cash game considerable. Fitzpatrick on the road against the Pats, this will be a good test for him to see if his improved play can continue. With his price, I would definitely put him on a GPP roster at 3, but I don't know about cash games for Fitzpatrick yet. It depends on roster construction and what comes down to it, but I do like Marshall and Decker a lot.
All right, anything else from this game?
That's it for me.
No Gronk? Gronk's playing, right? He's got a roster.
Too expensive and a bad matchup.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I like a lot of the Patriots this week. I think it's just they're really high priced this week, and they're going against a pretty tough D. So there's a lot of good plays out there this week that I think are better price wise. So I'm on them, but maybe not too much.
Fade everybody. Hope the Patriots have a bad game. Prices come down for next week.
Exactly.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, moving on. We got the Vikings versus the Lions. Let's see. Vikings are favored by 2.5, and we have an over/under of 44.5. So last week we had a pretty good game from Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson. Do you think they can repeat it again this week?
Absolutely not. Xavier Rhodes really shut down Calvin Johnson in week 2. I think he does it again. The only play from this game I can see is obviously AP. He's a play every week, even though he was a bust last week. And then Stephon Diggs is a great play to me this week against a terrible pass defense. And his targets are going up every week, and he looks awesome.
Yeah, and he's so low price. He's 5,800 on FanDuel. And in the last 2 games, he had 13 receptions for 216 yards. I saw a stat. He was in I think it was like 70% of the offensive plays last week. So he's definitely getting a lot of playing time. So that number is only going to increase.
Yeah, he's 4,200 on DraftKings. There's a couple receivers I like in that price range, but he's right there with them. He's averaging 18 fantasy points a game, man. And I think even if Chris Johnson and some of these other Jarius Wright, some of these other receivers, do get healthy and want to come back and get involved, I don't see how they don't just keep feeding him the rock, man. He's looked athletic. Who is that? Who's the Vikings' other receiver? Mike Wallace. Played with Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh. He actually tweeted out last week and compared Stephon Diggs to Antonio Brown, not in like athletic talent, but he said just in the drive and the motivation and the way he plays, the way he's determined to run his routes and he makes his cuts. So the dude's hungry, so I don't see why they don't keep feeding him.
I agree.
Good point.
I just got a tweet from a lineup lock saying he can't see anything. I don't know if you guys have seen anybody else saying this on Twitter, but if you guys can see us and hear us, or you can't, please please let us know. We'd like to get that fixed right away.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, maybe we can keep moving on.
Yeah. All signs point to working on this end. So
Yeah, same here.
let
Maybe
us
it
know.
is in.
Try maybe using the other link if you're not seeing any on the one you used.
Yeah.
But that's about all for me in this game. Diggs, I do think AP has a chance to get it going here. With them being favored about 2.5 points, he'll definitely be low owned. With his price, there's other cheaper running backs in better spots with higher volume.
Their offensive line is just bad. I couldn't pay that price tag for AP.
Right, but he's AP. He's still the same price he was last week on DraftKings. For a GPP roster, man, I mean, he could bust a 98-yarder at any time. So he's definitely worth a GPP flyer.
I agree. All right. Moving on to the next game, we have the Atlanta Falcons versus the Tennessee Titans. The Falcons are favored by 4, and we have an over/under, which is kind of high, of 48. It seems like a kind of an interesting game to me in terms of the over/under and Atlanta being favored by 4 on the road. What do you guys think about this game? What are our highlights here?
Oh man,
This line,
Devontae Freeman and Julio Jones obviously have to be in consideration.
this line is moved.
What's that?
This line is moved. I made my notes yesterday, and it was a 44. So it's moved 4 points.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that, especially with Mariota being out and Mettenberger playing.
Right.
And Atlanta only being favored by 4. This confuses me. I could see this being a super low-scoring game. Atlanta has not performed that well on the road, even though they are one of the best offenses in the league.
My favorite play from this game, actually, though, is Delaney Walker. I don't know if anybody has watched Atlanta this year, but they cannot defend the tight end. Who was it last week that just killed them?
New Orleans. Benjamin
Watson. Yeah, Benjamin just killed him. He was wide open on every catch. He was just wide open. And they've looked like that every single week. Mettenberger, I don't know if anybody remembers last year, loved passing to Delaney Walker. Walker had some huge games last year. I can see him having a huge game this week as well.
That's a great point. And he's still severely underpriced. I considered him using it in cash games last week. I didn't, regretted it. I did get some good production out of Jordan Cameron, who was cheaper. But, yeah, he's only $3,900 on DraftKings. So with them not having a standout receiver at Tennessee, Mettenberger will constantly be under pressure, I could see. We'll check down to him time in and time out. He could make for a great flex play on DraftKings or a value saver on tight end on FanDuel. What about Devonta Freeman here, guys? A lot of people are just saying he's a lock and load him. He's the GOAT, obviously. 3 touchdowns a week. Is he just a lock and load? I mean, we got to play him, right?
He's a high volume running back on a great offense. He's gonna get a lot of chances for touchdowns. This is probably the worst matchup he's had. But I mean he's played well in other tough matchups.
He has, and he's shown the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield.
He's a downfield runner and he runs hard. I think he's a top 5 running back when it comes to just talent alone. And then on top of that, this is one of the best offensive lines in the league.
He's had at least 5 receptions per game since Coleman went down. So, I mean, he's catching the ball out of the backfield. Whether they're down, whether they got the lead, they're giving him the ball. I think this is another situation kind of like Houston where they only have Julio and Devonta Freeman. Houston only has Hopkins and Foster, so they have no choice but to feed him. If they're not feeding Freeman, they're going to feed Julio. I think he makes for a great play at his price. He could reach value, but there's just guys in better spots for me when I'm constructing my rosters. I actually love Julio here as a contrarian play.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be many people on Julio actually this week. So
A lot of people will be fading him.
what's that?
So a lot of people will probably be fading him, especially since he hadn't done that well the past couple weeks, and everyone will be riding the goat.
Yeah, I agree. All right, anything else from this game?
Nope.
All right, moving on. We got Tampa Bay versus Washington. Washington is favored by 3.5, and we have over under of 43. Is there anybody we like in this game?
Washington defense. That's about it for me.
Man, if Washington had one running back that you could count on week in and week out, I would say roster him. Tampa Bay has shown that they cannot stop the run. There's been some teams, come in against them and just pound the run and have great success. But I saw Matt Jones is hurt, and there's just nobody on that side of the ball that I want to roster. And I saw just because I saw a lot of people on Doug Martin, and they think that the Washington defense the last couple of weeks have given up a lot of yardage and touchdowns to the runs. But you got to look at the teams they've faced. Faced the Jets last week. I think the Jets have a great offensive line and a great running back in Chris Ivory that's been running hard. And then the week before that, it was the Falcons and Devonta Freeman. So I think their fantasy points allowed to the running back on the Redskins side of the ball is a little bit skewed just based on the last two opponents. I don't think that the Buccaneers have the same type of offense or offensive line that the Jets or the Falcons do. So, guys, by all means, if you want to roster Doug Martin, go for it. But I wouldn't advise it.
And for me, this game's pretty much a pass. So we'll get through this game because I want to get to the more exciting game of the night. We have the New Orleans Saints versus the Indianapolis Colts. Colts are favored by 4.5, and we have a very high over/under 52. So with this game, we both love Andrew Luck, right?
Absolutely.
Favorite quarterback play on the week.
Really?
I can't believe you just said that.
He makes for a great play, man. He makes for a great play.
This guy argued with me for 3 hours about how Andrew Luck wasn't a great play.
I stepped away from my phone for, 15 minutes. I came back to 101 text messages about Andrew Luck.
I love giving a Kyle a hard time, especially when he's one of the first guys to be on a play. I didn't mean to burst his bubble, but he's got a great point here versus the New Orleans. New Orleans, man, when they're at home, those boys get fired up, man, and they could shut down. I mean, we saw them shut down Atlanta and Devonta Freeman. They gave Matt Ryan a hard time. When they're in that dome, man, they get crazy. I've been to many games in that dome, but they're on the road here this week, and they have been torched through the air. They've been a good defense versus the run. They're pretty solid up front with Cameron Jordan and I forget, they have another linebacker that kind of roams around that's pretty stout as well. But man, they're secondary. I pray for them sometimes.
So sticking with the Colts side of the ball, what else do we like from this game? Do we think Gore's going to have a good game here? Maybe Hilton? What do you guys think?
Like Pat said, they're running. Can't even talk. Their run defense is actually pretty good. I don't like Gore here, although he may sneak in for a couple of touchdowns if they get the ball to the goal line. I love T.Y. Hilton, and I love Dante Moncrief.
Absolutely. T.Y. Hilton, man, he's kind of boom or bust. Andrew Luck loves throwing him the deep ball, and he could probably be the wide receiver that has the better fantasy day.
I think this is the week of boom. His targets have been there. He's just had some tough matchups. This is by far the best matchup he's had all year, and it's kind of like the Calvin Johnson play last week. He's just waiting to bust out.
Yeah, I agree. Andy Luck has been targeting Moncrief in the red zone, though, when they get in short yardage. Last year, you saw it was the Dwayne Allens and the Fleeners on that team. But this week, those guys just haven't come to play, man. Moncrief has shown he wants the ball. He wants to prove his worth. So Luck has been feeding it to him in the red zone. They're going to be in the red zone a lot with his price. If I'm getting exposure, that's a typical play, a correlation play to pair a quarterback with the wide receiver. If I was going to pair him with anybody, you could go. I think maybe Ty for GPPs based off his price, and then Moncrief for cash because he's you get the savings there. There's
Can't
going
go
to
wrong either way.
Yeah, you can, but there's going to be so many points here. I think either of them have a great spot of getting in the end zone, and
Consider both. That's how much I love this matchup for them.
absolutely. On the other side of the ball, the Colts have been very vulnerable through the air. They're actually decent versus the run. No, actually, I take that back. Last week we saw LeGarrette Blount pound it on them, so. This could be, where New Orleans comes in here and they have the strategy. They take the NFL is a copycat league, guys. We see it time in and time out. Somebody, these coaches watch game film. They see somebody having a success, and all these coaches want to be Bill Belichick. They can't tell me that they don't. So, they watch the Patriots. Their game plan versus the Colts year in and year out is just pound the ball, pound the rock, keep Andrew Luck and his arm off the field because he is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I don't care what you say. He still has the ability to do what he did last year, even though he's thrown 2 picks a game this year. But this could be one of those games where New Orleans just comes in here and they say, all right, Ingram, offensive line, go to work. But they just haven't been able to get it done so far this year.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball for New Orleans, I do like Drew Brees, and I love Willie Snead. His price is still great. His targets, they're there. For that price, it's a good play.
I don't know if that dude is just a workout, just a freak of nature, or if he's just eating PEDs like Skittles. But, God, have you seen his yards after catch? Like, he catches the ball and just tosses NFL grown men, like throws them off like he's the Incredible Hulk or something. So the dude, man, he can ball. I gotta give it to him. He's cheap. Good play.
65 on FanDuel. I think it's a great play, especially being paired up with Breeze. As you mentioned, the Colts are giving up quite a bit on through the air. They give up the 5th most pass yards per game, and they give up quite a few fantasy points per quarterback. So
with Vontae Davis on the other side as well, Snead might even get more targets this week.
Exactly.
Oh, that's right. That's a great point. First couple
Vontae
weeks.
Davis on Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, the first couple weeks that's been becoming a trend. I was even rostering the Redskins slot receiver in GPPs just because Vontae Davis was on the other guy, and I forget what their other the Colts' other corner's name is, but he is a Pro Football Focus has him graded out. Hold on, has him graded out bottom. Hold on, seventh from last in the NFL in corners. So
jeez,
yeah, that's terrible. So
who's last? Just out of curiosity.
Hang on. I think it's not working right now. Somebody on the Raiders. I saw it earlier. My internet just. What's going on here?
All right. Is that it from that game?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Well, that was a little bit of a letdown. I was expecting to see some things being thrown, some names being called, so that didn't excite me as much. But maybe this game will. We have the Raiders versus the Chargers. Chargers are favored by 4, and we have over/under of 47. So it should be some good plays on both sides of the ball. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like this game as well. This kind of reminds me of Jacksonville, Houston last week. Couple teams with no defenses and pretty high-powered offenses. Could be a shootout. I like everybody on both offenses, basically.
I agree. Chargers are 31st in the league versus running backs. They're giving up, 24 fantasy point. Hold on, I had it pulled up here. But yeah, Latavius Murray, if This would be an interesting situation to watch because the last couple of games that they played before their bye week, he was pulled out and held on the sidelines. I don't know if he was nursing an injury from 3 weeks ago where he got slammed to the turf on his shoulder, or if did he have a fumble or something like that. I think he fumbled once or a couple times that they pulled him out and just kept him out for a couple series. So this is one thing you want to watch on Twitter throughout the week, especially closer to lock time. If you see where they're going to be feeding Latavius Murray, we've seen high-volume running backs eat versus this Charger run D.
Yeah, he's priced really low on FanDuel. He's only 7,000, so it's a great price for the amount of production he could put out.
Absolutely, 6.1K on DraftKings.
Okay. How about San Diego side of the ball?
Antonio Gates is my favorite play from this side of the ball, but I like everybody. I like Keenan Allen. I love Phillip Rivers.
Allen was held out of practice today. He's got a hip. Let's see, who else was somebody else? Eddie Royal he practiced today. He could possibly be back. So if Keenan Allen can't go, then fire up Eddie Royal, man. And also Gates. That's even more value, added to Gates if Keenan Allen can't go. We've been shown that he's Rivers' favorite target in the red zone. So if Allen's out, I think with what tight ends have done versus the Raiders, we rostered Owen Daniels a couple weeks ago. Come on. We're going to roster Owen Daniels versus the Raiders. This is the chalkiest of all chalks. Like I said earlier, this is one of the chalkiest weeks there is. I could probably see Gates being, somewhere around 70 to 80% owned. So if he doesn't eat in this matchup and he's on my roster, I'm not going to be that upset because this is like the promised land for him.
Yeah. Yeah, and also to Phillip Rivers, he's averaging 42 attempts per game. He's only priced at 8,000. It's pretty good price there, especially with the amount of attempts that he's getting. The run game is just so bad for San Diego; they can't get anything going, and he's just forced to throw the ball so much. So I also like Keenan Allen this game if he's healthy, but yeah, I think it points even more towards Gates as the good play for this game.
Yeah, Keenan Allen frustrates me at times. He just seems like, some days he'll come in and he'll just show boys that he can ball, like last week. But a lot of people were off of him last week because 2 weeks ago versus the Steelers on Monday night, everyone was on him and he went missing. Like people were like, is he dead? So he's just one of those guys where he I don't know, he's kind of like Marshawn Lynch. He plays when he wants to, and I don't have his cell phone, so I can't text him and ask him if he wants to play this week or not. So I'm not gonna take a flyer on him until I know he's fully healthy.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's getting more targets than Julio and Beckham and all the top receivers, and he's only priced at 8,100, so he's priced $1,000 less. So the opportunity is there if Rivers can get in there and how he's going to play that game.
Absolutely, I agree.
All right, anything else from this game?
Not for me.
All right, let's move on to Dallas versus the Giants. We've got the Giants.
Giants defense, maybe? Matt Castle is supposed to play quarterback for Dallas. And, man, if you're making multiple GPP rosters, Christine Michael, $3K. He is bare bone minimum price on DraftKings. Dallas has come out and said that he's going to be the feature back this week. I think Dallas still holds one of the best offensive lines in the league. I'm not going to put him in a cash game. But we saw the Dolphins come out last week. Their coach said they're going to give Lamar Miller the ball. A lot of these coaches, they say one thing and then do another. But I think these boys in Dallas are desperate. So. They're going to try something new, and I don't think they have anything to lose. So he will make a GPP roster or two of mine this week at bare minimum.
Definitely.
Other than that, Matt Castle, Giants D at home, fire him up.
Yeah. I think the only play that I could possibly have out of this game would be Jason Witten, just because I could see him being kind of like a safety blanket for Castle.
I actually have him written down. I just decided not to mention him.
Just don't want to waste our time. But the last game he played against the Giants, he had 9 catches for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. I know he had Romo when that was in the last game, but I could just see this being a game where he gets a lot of opportunities. So he's priced at 5,600 on FanDuel, so it's not that much, and I think it might be a good opportunity there.
Something else I just remembered, Dallas is actually pretty stout up front, but they've been kind of a funnel defense to allowing running backs get receptions and receiving yards out of the backfield. We saw the Patriots do it with Dion Lewis. Dion Lewis went ham against them a couple weeks ago. Shane Vereen had a terrible game on Monday night. No one's going to be touching him. So, man, take a GPP flyer on him. Dallas is, like I said, they haven't been allowing running backs to get any running room against them. Giants are definitely going to have to attack them in the air. So Vereen could actually come back and have a great game here. I'm not going to put him in a cash game lineup, but, man, he could be super low owned and pay off huge on a PPR site like DraftKings.
Hey guys, what do we think about Beckham? He's 9,000 this week on FanDuel, so he's priced at the very, very top. But we haven't mentioned his name. Is this just a bad matchup for him this week?
Yeah, Dallas grinds the ball, runs the ball quite a bit, takes away a lot of time off the clock, and then it's just not that great of a matchup for Beckham. His price is pretty high on both sides.
Yeah, I agree. The price is just a little too high there. All right, let's move on to the next game here. We have the Eagles versus the Panthers. Panthers are favored by 3, and we have an over-under of 46 here. What do you guys think from this game? Is there any plays that stand out for you?
I love Cam Newton. The only thing here for me is that Philadelphia is pretty good up front. They have some great linebackers. I think that takes a lot away from the read option for Cam Newton. Without the read option, I don't see this offense moving the ball very well. So that scares me a little bit off of Cam Newton.
Yeah, I think the only other play for me would be maybe the Carolina D. The amount of turnovers that the Eagles have. And Waterboy likes to turn it over quite a bit. I like them this week, definitely.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to say that Waterboy threw week before last. He threw 2 picks in the end zone. I also could see, like Kyle pointed out, Philadelphia, man, they got after who was it, Eli Manning last week. So
yeah.
I could see them, creating a good pass rush, and they get who's the linebacker they traded for? They get him back. This Kiko Alonso. He practiced this week, so they get him back. So I could see, Philadelphia being a super low on GPP defense.
What?
Yeah, they were good last week as well against the Giants.
Connor Barwin looked fired up. Some of those other guys along that line, they created just.
Connor Barwin's a stud. He's a big guy. I've seen him drop in coverage and defend some pretty fast running backs as well.
He's got like a huge reach and just big arms. I mean, he can create, push off right up and want to get a win on the road. I know it's NFC East versus NFC South here, but every win counts in this league. So that, like I said, it could be make for a good low on GPP defense play.
Well, anything else from this game?
That's it for me.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the last game on the slate. It's the Monday night game. We have the Ravens versus the Cardinals. Cardinals are favored by 8.5, and we have a over/under of 48. Let me ask you guys: is there anybody on the Ravens that we're going to play this week?
I wish there was, so that the game wasn't a blowout. But no.
Actually, man, Baltimore is pretty. They're actually pretty good up front versus the run, man. That they haven't been allowing teams to just establish the run and run on them. The only way to get success through them is through the air. And we have seen, Arizona has been giving carries to C.J. Oldkay. He's been basically their only running back, the backfield, but he's only been getting about max 13 carries a game. And Bruce Arians is not, took the reins off the throttle here. He's been, full steam ahead, letting Palmer and this passing offense just torch defenses. And if a guy like Colin Kaepernick can torch Baltimore, Carson Palmer, man, and this passing offense, I love John Brown. I love Larry Fitzgerald. I love Carson Palmer. I like it all here. I do agree with Kyle here. It is going to be a blowout, but the way they're going to blow them out is through the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those guys as well, but if you look at the Carson Palmer's last 3 games, he didn't hit, I think it last 3 or 4 games, he didn't hit 20 fantasy points because of the blowout factor. And then if you go ahead and roster Larry Fitzgerald or John Brown, you roster John Brown, Fitzgerald could get the first 2 touchdowns. If you roster Fitzgerald, John Brown can get the first 2 touchdowns, and then you're pretty much screwed after that because it's probably going to be a blowout. For cash games, it's kind of tough to find out who you're going to roster.
We have seen John Brown. He has gotten a few more targets. I think he had 13 last week, but that was against the Steelers, who are that matchup set up great for him. The Steelers have shown so far this year that they've allowed a lot of deep balls against wide receivers. So that was a perfect spot for him. The Ravens actually kind of drop back. They play a zone kind of team style coverage. They're going to allow a lot of stuff underneath here, and I see Larry Fitzgerald. I don't see how Larry Fitzgerald doesn't have a good game in this one. If I was going to roster anybody in a cash game, I believe he's the safest play, and he's going to eat against this matchup. It sets up great for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's always tough to predict game flow, but I think this one you can be pretty confident the Cardinals are going to do pretty well in this game. But what we do know is that the Ravens give up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks, so you definitely like Palmer in this scenario. And the Ravens also give the second most fantasy points to wide receivers. So there's some good matchups there. And one thing to point out for maybe a GPP, Michael Floyd had a really good week last week. On FanDuel, he's priced at 4,900, so that could be a good opportunity there, especially at his price point to get quite a few points in a GPP format.
That's another thing too with Michael Floyd being back. I mean, what if he takes production and you got the other guys and they don't throw the ball in the second half?
I agree, but I don't see how they don't throw the ball in the second half. I don't see them just riding off into the sunset on the old legs of Chris Johnson.
We shall see. And then, of course, Arizona D, I think, great in this one as well. Ravens have turned the ball over quite a bit. I think they'll put a lot of pressure on Flacco. So, again, I know they're the highest priced defense, but I also think they'll get their value from it.
That's another thing. Arizona defense being so good. Arizona's going to have good field positions, which means less yards for their defense or for their offense. So many variables to the Arizona offense, even though it's such a good matchup.
Agreed.
Yeah, Arizona Cardinals is probably one of my favorite defenses on the week. That's secondary. Patrick Patterson. Seen the Honey Badger get burned a few times, but they do have some playmakers that can take the ball, get an interception and take it to the house. So I think they make for a pretty safe cash game play and a high end, high ceiling GPP play as well.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our slate for the evening. So now, typically, what we like to do is go over our favorite picks of the week by position.
Questions first.
You want to do questions first?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and fire off some questions then.
Devontae Freeman or Hopkins if you're going to spend up on one guy.
Freeman.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree too.
I don't have a question. It's more of a comment from at Simon Raquel. He was commenting on the Chargers Raiders game. He said that when I was talking, he did correct me here. I was talking about Eddie Royal. I obviously meant Stevie Johnson. So if you try to roster Eddie Royal on the Chargers, please don't do what I just tried to do and roster him on the Chargers because he no longer plays for the Chargers. So
Unless you're playing in 2014, of course.
Right, good call there. I obviously meant Stevie Johnson. He practiced. He's back. And he said that that Antonio Gates was held out of practice today. That doesn't bother me at all. I think it was just precautionary measure. He's old. If he's going to go to the coach and say, hey, let me sit out today, Antonio Gates is not going to miss this game. He just wants a day off. So the dude's a beast. Give him a day off. He'll be fine.
Yeah, just to make sure everyone's aware, typically on Wednesdays is when some of the older veterans will have their day off. And usually the coaches will give them a day off, rest their legs, rest their bodies a little bit. So always take it with a little bit of grain of salt. If you see somebody not practicing on a Wednesday and they're an older veteran, it could be just a day of rest.
Absolutely.
Martavis Bryant or Amari Cooper?
I'll take the savings on Bryant in the matchup.
Yeah, me too.
Depends who's playing for me. But based on price, obviously Martavis Bryant. Overall, if we're talking standard league, Amari Cooper.
Yeah, if you're talking standard league, season long, the DFS, Landry Jones came in and he showed confidence in Martavis Bryant. They were feeding him on screens. I don't know if it was the Cardinals they played last week, so I don't know if Patrick Patterson was on Antonio Brown, if they were keying in on him or what, but it just seemed like he checked the ball down to Martavis Bryant in space, and that dude just showed his speed. Did y'all see that play where he ran all the way across the field and then ran back and then outran every single Cardinals defender around, just accelerated by them all, and I was like, holy crap, man, that dude is fast. If you haven't seen that play, go watch it because you will be amazed at how fast that dude is.
That's it for my questions.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I guess we must have did a great breakdown, I guess, guys. Nobody has any questions. We covered it all.
Yeah, there's still time, though. If you guys want to throw in a question real quick, we'll try and answer it. But I think we're going to move on to our favorite picks of the week. So what we'll do is we'll go position by position and just kind of throw out who we think's who in our opinion is the best pick for the week. So we can go ahead and start with quarterback. So Kyle, I'll start you off. Who's your favorite quarterback for the week?
Andrew Luck.
Shocker.
Who'd you say?
He said Andrew Luck.
Who'd you say?
I said you go.
Oh. Now I like Carson Palmer.
Yeah. I like the opposite of Luck. I like Breeze this week. I think I just think that's going to be a great matchup, and him being behind, I think he's going to throw up quite a bit.
Breeze?
Breeze, yeah.
Oh, he's a great GPP play, man. Okay.
All right. Let's move on to running back. Pat, who's your favorite running back this week?
Todd Gurley. Jeff Fisher loves his running back. The dude is cheap. I'm in love, man.
Yeah.
Man, running backs after Gurley are pretty tough this week.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I agree.
I like Latavius Murray a lot this week. Price is $7,000 on FanDuel. I think it's a great opportunity here. So I like him this week.
Well, now that you guys took my 1 and 2, I'll go Mark Ingram.
I like that a lot. He actually, we've seen there's been a running back each week, get at least 2 touchdowns. So I think he has that ceiling. If, like I said, New Orleans comes in that game and they just want to keep the ball away from Andy Luck and that high-powered Colts offense, Drew Brees can throw a long one to my man. I'm on PED Snead. and our Mark Ingram just pounded in a couple times easily.
Oh yeah.
Agreed. All right, we'll move on to wide receiver. I'll go ahead and take the first one. Larry Fitzgerald's my pick of the week. I really like him, especially Pat pointed out the fact that the Baltimore defense is they play a little bit of a zone defense that I think you can catch some opportunities over the middle, and I think that's a great opportunity for Larry Fitzgerald this week. Kyle, how about you?
I'm gonna go T.Y. Hilton.
I'm going to go Brandon Marshall, man. I think Brandon Marshall shows up in big primetime games. He's still a great player. I've seen that dude make some amazing catches and plays over the years for the Chicago Bears. I think he has just as good, if not better, quarterback in Fitzpatrick, and he looks like he's hungry. The Jets are 4-1. This is the matchup for first place in the AFC East.
So he gets to play on a winning team since he left Denver. I love Brandon Marshall. He's always been one of my favorite receivers.
I couldn't agree more, man. And this is a primetime game, primetime matchup. He's a professional, man. He's going to show up to play in this game. You know he is. So I could see him going ham.
I agree. All right,
you're a little too old to be saying that, Pat.
I'm trying to stay cool, stay hip. I thought about saying going fleek, but I didn't really know what that means yet. So I'm not even sure how to spell it. But I was some girl told my wife the other day at the store that her eyelashes were on fleek, and she looked at me like,
"Is that good?"
Yeah. Well, what? So anyway. I do agree, though, Colin. My bad. I won't overstep those boundaries again. I do have a few gray hairs in my beard.
Pat's got Urban Dictionary on his.
What about some tight ends, guys? Who we like at tight end?
Delaney Walker. I said it earlier, and I'm going back to it.
Pat?
Yeah, if you're playing that early slate, man. Take Charles Clay, especially if Sammy Watkins is out. That would mean they would be without Sammy Watkins and Percy Harvin, yeah.
And then I think the obvious play is Gates, but I'm going to give you a different one. I'm going to go with Jordan Cameron from Miami. I think he got in the game a little bit more last week, and I think he's going to be utilized even more in these types of scenarios. I think it's a good matchup for him this week, and I think he'll do pretty well.
Julius Thomas had 5 catches for a touchdown. I don't know. I forget how many yards. I think like 40 yards last week and a touchdown. He had like 18 fantasy points. So, yeah, Cameron's still cheap.
Yep. All right, Pat, how about top D? Who's your top D of the week?
Oh, give me the Cardinals, man. High floor, high ceiling.
I agree. I really like the Rams this week. I think they're low priced, and I think they're in a good matchup. I think they'll reach their value.
I'm gonna go with the Redskins here.
All right.
Why is that?
Against Tampa Bay and Jameis Winston.
I know. I was just messing with you. It's a pretty obvious play. Pretty good play.
Yeah.
I like the Giants for a GPP defense, and also the Eagles. I think both the Eagles getting Kiko Alonso finally healthy, their big trade, all-season trade, and they looked hungry last week. So especially
they're not going to give up that loss easy though. With all the criticism to them being undefeated, they're going to be hungry to play.
Yeah, I agree. So.
All right, I think that's going to do it. I think it wraps everything up for us. We definitely appreciate you taking the time to watch this tonight, and maybe watching it on YouTube as well. Tweet out the links. Make sure that pass it along. We appreciate the views and passing it along.
Spam those views for us.
Yes, please. We would greatly appreciate it. Tweet it out. Shout it out.
Definitely. We do this for fun, and at any time if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit us up on Twitter. We'd be more than happy to answer anything for you guys. And hopefully you got some values here, and hopefully this will help you make some picks in your Week 7 lineups.
I'm sorry, I just missed a question from at Simon Raquel said, how will Mettenberger fare this week?
You know,
Anybody? I mean, it's shocking to me when I saw that the over/under on this had moved to 48. Atlanta by favored by 4. Man, I don't know, but we've seen the Falcons they're the 32nd ranked run defense. We've seen them give up multiple rushing touchdowns per week. They did it to Mark Ingram had 2 rushing touchdowns on them last week. I forget who had 2 rushing touchdowns on them the week before. But what Tennessee Titans running back are you gonna roster? I don't think Mettenberger has a good fantasy game. He might do okay in real life, but I'm with Kyle on Delaney Walker here as his check down go-to guy.
yeah.
Also have another question here from at Fantasy Rookie 101. Walker, Carr, or Gates, St. Louis D for cash on FanDuel.
What was that?
Walker or Carr. Walker and Carr. So Delaney Walker and Carr, or Gates and St. Louis D for cash on FanDuel.
That's the weirdest formatted question, but
Yeah, it's pretty weird, but I think Gates is pretty chalk, and we said that we like the St. Louis Rams D. So those 2 scenarios, those don't really correlate very well. But out of those 2 scenarios, I'd have to go with Gates and St. Louis D.
I agree.
I have another question from at Jared at J Schraps. Thoughts on Landry Jones if Big Ben doesn't play? Man, he's minimum price, dude. I mean, I don't see him having a 20-point ceiling, but I could see him reaching value. So if you're trying to go for a stars and scrubs GPP theme, why not put him on a roster, especially if you got money to spend?
Yeah, I mean it's.
Oh, okay. Fantasy Rookie 101 just clarified that was Delaney Walker and Carolina D, or Gates and St. Louis D.
Okay.
Gotcha. Second one.
Yeah, I would still say Gates, St. Louis.
Agreed.
I don't see any more last-minute questions. Thanks a lot, guys. Shout out to at J Straps and at Fantasy Rookie 101 for those questions. We appreciate that.
Yep. Don't forget to share the link, guys. Retweet it. Help us get views. Like Marty said, we just do this for fun. We like helping you guys out. We don't get anything from this. We just like seeing how many views we get at the end of the week. It means a lot to us. It's nice to know people are actually watching all the work we put into this.
Yeah, and we'll be live on Twitter. Probably 30 minutes, an hour to 30 minutes before lock. So if you have any questions either throughout the week or especially coming right down before lock, because with NFL, so much news breaks, on Sunday morning. So that's one thing. If you don't subscribe to us and you don't have somebody else making lineups for you, if you're making your own lineups off this video, please go on Twitter, go online, pay attention to the latest news before making your roster. I mean, we see crazy stuff in the NFL happen all the time, from Johnny Manziel slamming girlfriend's windows, heads into a window, or Fred Jackson crashing his car. You just don't know what's going to happen in this crazy league. So just please pay attention and make sure you roster the right guy on the right team. Don't roster Eddie Royal thinking he still plays for the Chargers. So that's my 2 cents.
All right, that's going to do it, guys. Thanks again so much. For Kyle, for Pat, I'm Marty, signing off. Thanks, guys.
Peace.